Hi guys, welcome back. This is part 2 of my dark crystal nails. If you've not watched part 1, I'll put a link in the corner for you. Other than that, please enjoy. Right, so this is day 2 of my dark crystal nails. I've come back and taken off my top coat. If you need to watch part 1, go ahead and do that. I'll put a link for you. But basically I'm going to carry on doing these. This is the second day, so I had top coat on overnight and then I've just buffed it a bit to make it so I can paint on it. So I'm going to come in on Jen's body now and try and put in some of the details. I'm going to just start with sort of some dark, not outlines, because it's not an outline, but like the sort of I don't know how to describe it, like the sort of halo of where the shadows are going to be. So I'm not outlining per se, I'm just putting the edges of my shading in, if that makes sense, which I know it doesn't, but whatevs, we'll move on. So I'm just adding in where, sort of blocking out where the shading's going to finish and start, and then I'm going to do my gradients after that. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. You'll see what I mean as I sort of progress. If I'm talking rubbish, do you know what I mean? I'm sorry about my glasses. I've tied my hair back because my hair keeps getting in my videos, and then I'm still leaning forward and my glasses are getting in the way. So there are some little patches of this video where you are obscured by my like cat eye glasses. So I'm really sorry. I will try not to keep, well, obviously in future, obviously this is now the past, but I will try not to keep doing that in future. But yeah, so I'm just going to go through and add all these sort of peripheries of my shadows, and then I'll sort of work into my midtones, add some deeper shadows, and then start adding highlights and stuff. I do start working in a wash soon, which is the technique I would definitely recommend as opposed to what I'm doing currently. I think it gave me a lot better result. I sort of learned as I went on this set, so you can learn with me. It's all good. So I'm going to let you watch for a little bit, and I'll come back in when there's something that I need to tell you. Right, so you can see that I've started coming in and cross hatching here, which is a perfectly fine technique to do, but it takes a long time and it's not the best looking in my opinion. So I was like, do you know what, I'm going to try and do a wash, let's see what it looks like. And then I was like, what the hell have I been doing this whole set? Why have I been sat there cross hatching like some sort of amateur? Do you know what I mean? I was like, washes are the way to go. I'm doing washes forever, washes are life. So this is what I'm doing. So I'm doing washes and sort of like doing a bit of an aquarelle thing, sort of just like mopping up the edges and just blending, and it was so much easier and it took so much less time and gives such a better result. Can't believe I was sat there cross hatching like some sort of clown. So yeah, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of this set now. I'm going to do a watercolour style, and it's loads better and it looks a million times better, and the best bit of the nails are all the bits that are coming up now. They'll just look loads better. So yeah, so I'm trying to add some like shine to these, like, I don't know what you call them. They're not gauntlets, like braces, I guess. Like the little braces that he's wearing. So I'm just going to come in and do some highlights. I'm going to put some highlights on his shirt and stuff. Just get the form looking good. Like the highlights serve the form. There's no need for a highlight unless it tells you something about the thing that you're looking at. So just make sure you follow the correct shapes and stuff like that. So I'm just going to let you watch for a little bit and I'll come back in a minute. This is me trying to get the glow on this crystal now, unsuccessfully in my opinion. I think it looks alright, don't get me wrong, but it just doesn't look like... I was going for the replicating what was on the image, which you can see in the top corner there. But yeah, I was happy enough with it. Covered up quite a lot of the beautiful nails underneath. I actually really love these nails before I put any art on them. I'm kind of mad that I covered it all up. Like I said in my last video, like I just blocked the faces out and got carried away, and I wish I'd have blocked the whole thing out before I put any detail on, because I'd have taken the girl flings off and made them smaller so that you could still see some of the beautiful glitter and stuff underneath. And I wanted to put some 3D and some crystals on as well, but I'd completely filled it up with paint, so I was just like, that's enough. If I put what else on there, it's going to look ridiculous. So definitely plan ahead, kids. Do you know what I mean? Learn from my mistakes. But never mind. So yeah, so I'm just trying to get this glow in. I'm adding a bit more highlight to his face to make it look like the light's bouncing and stuff, and same for her, trying to brighten up that edge. Just so it looks like the face is in the light. It's building up the glow towards the inside so that it looks like that's where it's emanating from rather than being behind. Did my best, what can I say? So yeah, I'm just blocking her shirt out now. I'll come in and do some detail in a second, but I'm just blocking it out in a slightly darker colour than Jen's. I think that it's more of an orangey tone. I wanted to differentiate them, so you know whose arms is whose and stuff. It's quite difficult on this small scale because obviously you're not adding in as much detail. It can sort of make it difficult to read, if that makes sense. So yeah, so I'm going to come in now and put some detail in. I think I start with the low lights and then come back in with the highlights, I'm not sure. Oh, excuse me. I'm not trying to capture every piece of detail, I'm just sort of getting the general illusion of the shapes, if you like. I do decide to move that hand out of the way as well. I didn't include the hand because I thought, can't I be bothered? And is it going to read, more importantly? Like, it's just going to be a beige blob down the bottom of this nail. So I decided just to remove it. So we'll just pretend the hand's lower. This is all done with that wash technique and I think it looks tons better. And most importantly, it's tons faster. We should be just about done with her now, and then we'll be going on to the other nail, which is my favourite. It's so good. This is the one, the next nail, the index, is the one that we're actually really proud of. Still messing about with this crystal. Oh, I'm making myself tired. Oh, I hope this isn't too boring for you. It's boring for me because I did it, I was there, do you know what I mean? Yeah, I'm just trying to deepen up these corners and try and, I don't know, add a bit of depth because I think I washed it out a bit much, to be fair. Yeah, I'm gonna fast forward. I'll see you when I start doing next nail. Yay, here we go. So I've blocked out her face and I'm coming in with it, blocking her hair out now. So I've just blocked out the basic shapes. Nice and easy, doing it all in a wash. Wish I'd have known this before. You can do adjustments super easy. It's really easy to cover up. Love it. So yeah, so this is going to be my technique going forward now. I think if I'm using acrylic, I'm going to definitely just do a wash. And I'm building up the highlights. If you notice that I had a thin part, but I've actually left it thin because I'm going to put low lights there. You know, like round where her eye sockets are going to be and stuff like that. I'm just sort of building up where her face comes out forwards. A bit like you would with makeup, I guess. You know, like when you do contouring and stuff. Just adding on a little nostrils and adding in the recesses for her eyes. Blocking her face out. You can tell at this stage whether your proportions are right as well, so you're not putting in a bunch of work and then being like, do you know what, it looks goofy but I can't take it off because I've spent 20 minutes, do you know what I mean? So you're just doing a really quick wash out and block out and getting the actual shape right. So yes, I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to keep adding really thin layers, building them up, and then you can knock them back by putting, like say for example I've done these shadows under her chin. If I decide they're a bit too dark, I can get some of that original colour that I've got as a wash and just wash it over them once they're dry, and it'll just knock them back a bit, it'll just knock them down, it won't cover them. I mean, I could cover it if I wanted, if I just used the paint thicker, but if I just want to knock it back and it's just a bit too dark and just get all those values right, I love it. This is such a better technique. I really enjoyed doing this nail, and it took me like 1/8 of the time of any other nails, so I loved it. I feel like I had a little epiphany. So yeah, I'm just adding in some highlight now for the brow bone, slowly working from my midtones to the bottom and then from my midtones up to the highlights. Like apparently you're meant to save your highlight for last, like to keep it clean. You know, the top of your range for highlights, this is the thing apparently. So I've been doing some sort of research on painting and stuff and watching some videos of like real artists. so I've been learning. But yeah, so I'm just sort of slowly adding details. I'm not doing any line work or anything, I'm just adding thin washes to sort of allude to folds in her forehead and stuff, and that little like shadow that's underneath her, I don't know, third eye or pearl or whatever it is. So yes, I'm just sort of getting a mid-tone dark, sort of knocking back those low lights because they were a bit much. I'll come back in and add some more highlights probably, and just sort of keep building it up like that, keep switching between the mid-tones. Just lifting parts of her face that are lit, you know. Adding texture. This is where I really started to struggle to keep my wrist in the right position. It's like actual pain. You can see here as well that I've gone ahead and top coated the two gelflings just so that I don't knock them off, because I am that sort of person that'll blob water all over my finished work, do you know what I mean? I'll have a disaster. But yeah, so I'm just darkening down that recess in her brow and adding some of the like little creases and stuff, and just keeping going basically, just keep adding and now I'm working down the chest. She's got like a sort of a masculine chest, but then with boobs. It's weird. So yeah, so the masculine chest is the bit that you can see, and then the boobs are like round her belly. So I'm just adding in that sort of like pec area and her ribs and stuff, and adding in some creases and some highlights and some lowlights and things, and just knocking it so that when you step back and look at it from a distance, you know, so you're not looking at the details, it looks further back than her face, if that makes sense, because her face will be slightly forward. I'm adding in some tiny hairs. I'll come back and add some hair texture now. This, obviously I've blocked the hair out, but I'm adding in that sort of curly texture by putting in the highlights and lowlights. Again, as I've said before, hair is like my favourite thing. I love it. So yeah, I'm trying to get that sort of halo that's behind her head in the reference. She's you know, she's like slightly lit from behind, so I'm just adding in some white at the very top and stuff, and adding in the lighting as well as the actual colour of the texture of the hair. Sorry. She's got these two like rammy plaits that come down by her side as well, so I'm going to add those in a minute. Really easy technique for getting a plait, I'll show you in a second. It's right good. I'm all right impressed with myself. So I'm just redding up a jumper, well, dress or whatever you want to call it. She's got like a linen dress or something. I'm going to add some of the like straps and stuff that she's got round, and ties, and do a little necklace and stuff, and then I'm going to come back in and do them flats. I'm going to put a bit of a low light underneath those straps as well because they don't really stand out. They are actually a slightly different shade of red, but you can't tell, you know what I mean? I was thinking about putting some gold on this necklace, but I decided against it. I just did it orange at the root. I think Fizz Gig pretty much covers it up anyway, so I couldn't be bothered in the end. Just adding in some of the little details to hint at beads and things on a necklace. These are the plaits I was talking about. So basically I'm just going to block out the general shape of the plait in the base grey, you know, like that I've done the hair in, on both sides. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to use a highlight and a low light, like a highlight down one side and a low light down the other to create a V shape. And this looks like a plait to me at this scale, you know what I mean? And then I'll sort of come over again with the grey and wash it a bit to sort of knock it back because it's too bright and too dark. But that's a good way to do it. If you go over the top and then use a wash over it once it's dry, it sort of seats it in properly. If you just use the right colours for it in the first place, it still looks like big blobs of paint. Whereas once you've like washed over it, it seats it down and it looks really nice. I was really impressed with it. I liked it a lot. If I do say so myself. I'm gonna pop her eyeballs in a minute. Just putting some little highlight on her lip and on top of her nose and on her brow bones and stuff. You know, just to bring those forward a little tiny bit more. Trying to keep my lighting consistent so it's on same, it's all in the right places for where the light's coming from, because the light's coming from this crystal obviously. So I'm trying to make sure that it's well lit. Just using my dotting tool to put the pearl or third eye and then her normal eye. Just sort of like with this pearl one at the top, this middle of the forehead thing, I'm trying to like sort of soften it a bit with a dry brush, just sort of stippling on it. So yeah, so I'm just coming in back in now. I've blocked out a bit of where that eye was so that it's not quite as round, you know, like at the top where the brow's going to cover it. And I'm just going to add her eyebrows now. So I'm just sort of using the very tip of my brush if I can, just to sort of get a really thin wispy line. Trying to be as realistic as I can with these. Obviously you don't need to draw on every brow hair, you just need to give the impression that it's like a wispy brow, you know. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to do a little moustache as well. A signature moustache. Like I was really happy with how she turned out. She was my favourite one on this whole set. And I feel like if I put some text in right now, I'm not gonna because I've already edited, I can't be bothered. But if I put some text on saying conjunction now, you would read it in her voice. That's how good this is. I'm so impressed with myself. I was really impressed with my little Olga or whatever. I can't remember how you pronounce the name, but yeah, I was right impressed with myself with this one. I was really happy with it. She was my favourite part of this set, definitely. Just adding in those highlights and lowlights on these straps so that they stand out a little bit against this red dress. I think I'm going to add some creases in as well. Add a bit of highlight to show that bit's further forward, because that's kind of where her sort of chest is, you know, boobs. So, and then I'm going to add some creases from the fabric, just to give a sort of hint. It doesn't need to be like photorealistic or anything. Just deepen up some of these shadows, make sure that I've got everything how I like it. Knock back some of these highlights in his hair because it was looking a bit mad, especially that one there. So just use like a smaller wiggly line to sort of split it into two, if that makes sense, so that it's not as in your face. Just adding a bit of shadow around this like forehead eyeball pearl thing. Somebody will have to tell me what it actually is. I don't know what the canon is on that. So I'm just going ahead and blocking out Fizz Gig now. I just figured I'd throw him in there because, you know, it's not Dark Crystal without Fizz Gig. Do you know what I mean? So I'm just going to block him out. I'm using all the same techniques that I've used on the Gelfling's hair to sort of add depth, you know. But yeah. So I'll let you watch this for a little bit. I'm not going to continue commenting. It's all pretty straightforward. The only thing that I will come back and talk about is his teeth, because it's a bit different. But I just wanted to ask as well, actually, who's actually watched the new Dark Crystal programme? Because I haven't, because I daren't. I feel like I've got Dark Crystal too close to my heart. It's like part of my childhood, and I need to know if it's any good before I watch it, because if it's terrible, it'll break my heart. And you know, obviously, it's a bit. I'm sure it's going to be quite morbid, like, because Dark Crystal's not exactly like a ray of sunshine, is it? So I'm debating whether to watch it or not. So somebody tell me whether I should watch it or not. Let me know in the comments, because I just don't know. I don't know if I can dare. But yeah. So I'll let you watch this for a couple of minutes, and then I'll come back when I'm doing his teeth. It won't be long. Right, here we go. So yeah, so basically what I'm doing to do tiny little teeth, I'm loading my brush up. Like, I load it by dragging it through the paint and slightly off onto the palette. That's the word I'm looking for. Slightly off onto the palette, so that I haven't got a blob on the end, basically. And then I lay the tip down where I want the tooth to end, and sort of just bend my brush towards the gum line. And then I come back in and put, you know, block in the top where his fur is. So I'll come back and then cover it with fur, basically, so that it looks like it's coming out of his mouth. I found this to be the best technique for doing tiny little pointy teeth, or tiny little pointy anything, basically. It works really well for me. Trying to actually put your brush down and drag it somewhere on this scale, it just doesn't work. It's not realistic. You can't do it. You just end up with teeth that are all random shapes and sizes. So yeah, I've got another video coming up soonish with a D&D set that I did, so that covers that a little bit as well, because I've got like a beholder and stuff that's got like little pointy teeth. So yeah, so if you want to see that, make sure you subscribe, because you know, you can get an alert or whatever, ring that bell or whatever YouTubers say, and you can have an alert and obviously watch that when it's ready. But yeah, so I'm going to let you watch the rest of this now, because my throat's given up. I've been talking for so long. So I'm going to let you watch the rest of this. If you did like the video, please subscribe. I've got like 40 subscribers, if that. So it'd be really, really nice for me. It'd make my day. I would actually notice you and probably know your name. It's not like subscribing to somebody massive and they don't even see it. So yeah, and if you want to ask me any questions, or if you've got any comments about Dark Crystal and you want to let me know whether I should watch it or not, just hit me up in the comments. I'll reply to everybody. So unless you're an arsehole, obviously, then don't bother. I'll get not by arseholes in comments now. I shouldn't have said that, never mind. Right, so I'm going to let you watch. So thanks for watching. Bye bye.